All right, what is up, everybody, and welcome into this week's edition of the South Florida Comedy Calendar. This show that is your one-stop shop for everything South Florida comedy on a week-to-week basis, guys. We have such a packed-out lineup of things that happen, things that are happening, and what's coming up in South Florida. I really want to get into it right away, guys. As I am, my name is Sebastian Alvarez. I'm your host every single week here. We're coming to you live from the Black Studio in South Miami, and I am joined by my co-host, as I am every single week, Art Roach. How you doing, Art?
Pretty good, Sebastian. Missed you last week, man. But I found a new meme called the Yes King meme. It's pretty dope, but I'm pretty new to this, so more to come in a couple of weeks.
There you go. Yes, King. I know that's how you like to get down. Anyway, moving on, though, we have a really, really great guest with us this week. It's one of my favorite guests that we've had on the show. She's been in the game for longer than I think you and I combined. So we love having people that have the experience that can be shared with everyone else in our audience on our show. And that's why we've brought on the very funny, and everyone in the studio audience, put your hands together and give a round of applause for Ellie Rodriguez. Yes.
Been doing this a long time just means that I'm old thing. That's code for she's been around longer since I was born, so I appreciate it.
But that is also why she is our fairy godputa. And that is something that is irreplaceable here in the Miami comedy scene. But moving on, I want to quickly start with what was happening last week at the Improvs and All About. So I actually had a show over in Dania Beach last week, and that was with Have Nots, guys. And I mean, what an incredible show that Dom put on a Tuesday night in Dania Beach. It felt sold out. You know what I mean? It was packed out. Everybody had great energy from the minute they walked into the room. The audience was fantastic. I believe that lineup, it was me, Grace Kelly, Jay Moreno, Dina Cruz, Dom went up, and Minda and Dan from the Don't Tell shows up north, and they also have their podcast, One Marriage, Two Mics. Super, super funny. I love those guys. Everybody who went up actually destroyed and did super well. Actually, also Jules Rodriguez performed as well. He also went up.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, and he did some time as well. So that was really fun. The energy was great. I also was up in Orlando. I actually just got back, just drove in just for this show, for you guys, for the Comedy Calendar fans. So I couldn't miss this on my Monday, but I was up in Orlando. This was actually in Haines City, Florida, where we were doing a little show. Grace Kelly booked myself, Wynton Francis, and Brian G, all for a show up there. It was ran by Mike, DJ Mike, who is one of, I think, my favorite now producers, because he went and he did everything for that show. He booked everybody. He got all the people out there. It was an amazing crowd. They were packed out. He DJ'd and he hosted.
Nice.
And he hosted. So I love a guy who can do a little bit of everything. So that was a lot of fun. Really, really cool. Shout out to Mike. Other than that, there was also another Orlando comic named Kevin D, who performed there, who was super funny, who I really liked, and I think is somebody that should be coming down here to South Florida doing some stuff. He's super good, super good. But it was a really fun show, and Haines City, Florida, I'd never been there, but they do not make the underwear for Haines.
I was just about to ask.
In Haines City. Yeah. No, I learned that the hard way from the crowd.
Haynes.
Sure. I didn't even look it up. The GPS took me there. But that was last week over in Orlando and over in Dania Beach, and what was happening at the in the comedy scene, a little bit involving me there. But we also had last week at the Improv. Who was headlining the Improv last week?
We had Jeremy Piven, man.
That's right, Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, it was amazing. I got to, you were in Orlando, so I got to work the whole weekend. I actually got to talk to him for a little bit. He had an amazing opener for him. Monty Franklin from Australia and Carl Remy actually was the host for the night.
Nice.
So he got to talk about I Possessed, and look out, the next couple of weeks I'm going to be going to the screening of it. We're going to be doing a recap afterwards.
Nice.
And then the big opening in March, we'll be doing it as well. So it's a really cool show this weekend.
Sweet. Love that. Love to hear that for what was happening last week in South Florida comedy. But going into this week, guys, we start off Monday and Tuesday with an absolute banger, guys. This is going to be obviously one of the biggest shows of the year at the Improv. If you didn't get tickets, sorry. You should have been listening to the Comedy Calendar when we told you guys that they were on sale, and then when they added the next show. But that is for Louis C.K., guys. Everybody in Miami has been waiting for this for months now. Since it got listed on the Improv website earlier this year, it sold out right away. They added another show. It sold out right away. So if you have tickets for it, congratulations. One thing that I do want to let everybody out there know, though, is if you have tickets for this show and you did not purchase them on MiamiImprov.com, if you got them on any other website, and I mean anything else other than MiamiImprov.com, those tickets will not be valid tonight, and you will be rejected at the door. So please, 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 if you have that issue, call the Improv ahead of time. They'll resolve it. We'll help you out there. But just so you know, guys, don't be looking at tickets that are sold for $300 on StubHub and think that you can come to the show. Just chill out. Yeah. Don't buy the tickets. Your money will go to waste. I promise.
I'll add to that. All week we've been taking calls. I mean, 50 plus calls a day. People having questions about the Louis C.K. show. All these different things. The biggest thing I'll say is this: the show's at 7 and 9:30. Get there as early as possible.
Yeah.
There's going to be third-party sellers, so the line's going to be delayed. There's going to be people who don't have complete parties. You need your complete party to be sat.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot of hubbub around the door. Get there early. Give us the chance to get everybody in there. It's going to be a great night. And if anyone that's just like, oh, I have to see it, the only option at this point is you get there early, sign up on the wait list. 30 minutes after the show starts, we'll give you a call if there's any seats available.
Right.
That's the best option we have at this point.
And I personally don't think there will be too many seats available tonight. So sorry about that ahead of time, guys. But if you want to come and try it out, you can. But I just don't think that's going to be too available.
And lastly, there's a big shout out. Our boy's going to be hosting or opening the night.
Yes.
Ricky Cruz.
Yeah.
Big fan of big friend of the show. So just big shout out to him. I'm excited to be there and see him tonight.
100%. And we'll hopefully get a little interview maybe with Ricky for the show where he could talk about kind of his experience, what happened, what went down, even if it's a little just kind of in the moment there.
I appreciate,
for you guys
by the
next
way,
week.
I know Louis wanted to be here today, but I thank you guys for telling him that you had already booked him.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was
Louis does things last minute, and you have a long invitation, so
appreciate it.
I think also, it was great because I think this show coming and Louis coming and doing a testing out new material show, which is what it is. It's on the website. It's listed as trying out new material. There's going to be no phones. Everyone's going to have their phones put in a Garland bag or Garmin bag, whatever it may be. And we've only done that one other time with Pete Davidson, and it made the show so much better. Like people maybe think, oh, it's going to be annoying. It's going to be the people we bring in a third party team that does this every single week, and they do this for a bunch of different events. They do this all the time. So for us, it becomes super easy once to interlude them into the process and get you guys in really smooth. So don't worry about that. If you are coming to the show about, hey, what's going to happen? You can still access your phones as well during the show. You keep the phone on you. We don't collect your phone. You keep it on you in this lock bag. If you need to go out and you get a text message, you need to go out and you make a call, they are set up the whole time outside. So you can go, they'll unlock it for you. You can use your phone, and then they'll lock it for you as you go back in. So you don't have to worry about that if you are coming to the show, guys. And if you're not, I'm sorry. That's why you got to follow the comedy calendar. There you go. There you go. Moving on to Wednesday, though, we have a Have Not show at the Miami Improv, and I'm super excited for this because we've got a bunch of our friends on this lineup, man, and it is actually a badass lineup here. We got Dom P, who's obviously the curator and creator of the Have Not shows. He's going to be doing some time there. We got our buddy Ben Smith, who has been a guest on the show and is also an employee at the Improv, so really, really good friend of ours. Mike Daba, obviously the man who runs and curates things like Seven Seas and Taurus, we talk about here on the time. Chris Renoir, who's super funny, also been a guest on the show, who we've interviewed here already. Manny Garavito, who runs Miami Comedy. He does a bunch of shows out here in South Florida. And we have another comic that I don't think I've ever heard of, and that's Phil Imes.
I've never performed with him. I haven't actually seen him yet, but I believe he'll be headlining that night. So
awesome.
It'll be an opportunity for us to definitely catch his whole set.
Awesome. I love that. I love when Dom brings in headliners or people from out of town that we haven't seen. It's such like a good experience because they get to do the Miami crowd. We get to see them in front of that. But then we get a different flavor of kind of just wherever that comedy is coming from. So that's super cool. I can't wait to see where he's from. Ellie, you've done Have Not shows before. You've worked with them all the time, right?
Totally.
What has been your experience with the Have Nots production?
Oh my gosh, Dom puts on really great shows, and I've really enjoyed watching his growth and like the whole Have Nots brand, where it started from shows at Open Stage Club, which actually just quick shout out to Have Nots and Dom and the whole crew, because when I took a little comedy hiatus for a few years and came back into comedy like in 2017, 2018, it was Dom and the weekly Saturday Have Not shows that got me back in the game. Like he let me host every Saturday.
Nice.
I was his longest running host. And then from Open Stage, he went to Umbrella, tried a couple of other spots, but after all those places like ended up fizzling out, he ended up at the Improv, which in my opinion has been the best partnership for the Have Nots. He's got he does at least one show a month at each club. Mm-hmm. He packs it out every single month. And they're super fun. He does a great job rotating the comics, bringing different people.
No, even afterwards, like the content he generates from it, like
totally
huge, amazing. And one of the best clips I have on my page was a clip that they did on Have Nots, and it collaborated with me. So it's really dope that just the before work, during the show, and then afterwards, he's still putting in that value. Dark Vision works with him on every show.
Yes.
So you get really good pictures, you get really good video out of it. So it's really good.
The best pictures I've gotten are from the Have Not shows. And to your point, I remember too when Dom just had this vision for building his page just full of comedy content. So it's been nice to see it all come to fruition.
No, and some of his posts have gotten insane views.
Oh my
some
God.
of his stuff has gone super viral because he's putting in quality content in terms of the stand-up that he's choosing and the sets that he's choosing or the bits he's choosing to put out, but then he's also editing it properly with the captions, with everything. The quality is super nice.
Package.
So as long as you do that, the views will come, and the proof is in the pudding there with Dom and Have-Nots. Love that. Love to see what he's doing as well. Moving on, though, to Thursday through Saturday at the Miami Improv, guys, we have one of my favorite headliners who comes through here every once in a while, and that's Brian Callen, guys. Yeah. You know him from, he has... he does The Fighter and the Kid with Brendan Schaub, and he's been on Rogan a bunch of times. He's usually on the Fight Companion segments of Joe Rogan where they watch UFC together. He'll be on every time, kind of watching the UFC event live with them, as long as Joe's not obviously commentating on it. So he's been around the block. He's done a bunch of stuff. I remember one of the last times he came through the Improv. It was one of my first weekends I was working at the Improv. It was right when I had just started. It was maybe like 2-3 months in. And I remember him being just so cool because after the show, I believe there was like a UFC event or something going on that he came out, he hung out with us, staff. He was super cool. We ended up walking over to like the Copper Blues, the little bar next door, and we were just talking, and that was exactly when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars. And we were all together and we watched, we're experiencing that all in one moment. He was just it was just so cool, like such a nice hang to have. So I've always loved Brian Callen and the vibe that he brings because, you don't have to do that as a headliner who's coming through.
And for me, he's one of those comedians. I had never known of his stand-up. I saw him on podcast and kind of turned me on to him. Mm-hmm. And then that experience you had with him like over a year ago is really what made me start looking more into him. So it impresses me that I always like to see someone who's got the goods on stage, but then you hear all the good stuff behind the scenes, how he treated the employees and how he treated the venue. So it's really cool.
Yeah. And that's why we always love having him back here at the Miami Improv, and that's why the staff is excited for this weekend. Everyone's looking forward to Brian Callen. He's one of those guys, and to have him on the tail end of the beginning of Louis C.K. is going to be a jam-packed week at the Miami Improv, guys. So you could literally spend all week going to the Improv this week, and you will not be disappointed. Like you can spend every single night.
Some people will be. I've met people that have bought 4 tickets. They're going to be at every single Louis C.K. show. This
what
week.
A great way to spend the week.
Smart, super smart, super smart. Because I know a lot of people too are very interested in he's doing new material. So let's see what he changes from show to show. So I know even if it's not 4, I know some people that have both nights. Like they kind of they're just when they saw that it adds another little layer of what we have to come for this show tonight and tomorrow at the Miami Improv. Moving on though to Thursday and Saturday over at the Dania Beach Improv. I'm a little disappointed I can't go and see this show because we're going to be having him over at the Miami Improv as well at the same time. But we have Harlan Williams coming through the Dania Beach Improv, and I freaking love Harlan Williams. I mean, he was my favorite character in Superstar back in the day. I think that was the first role I ever saw him in, where he's like the mysterious biker guy in Superstar. Yeah. And since then, he's had this amazing resurgence recently. I mean, he's gone tapped in with the Austin comedy scene, and it's really shown people that just how funny he's always been this funny. But I think the exposure to that direct audience and that comedy swell that has been building around, Kill Tony and the Mothership and all these things, he's inserted himself there and fit in so perfectly that I love to see him now coming and touring again. And I think he's probably going to be close to sold out. Yeah. I would assume any of those shows. So if you do want to get tickets for those shows, go to DaniaBeachImprov.com and get them right now, because don't wait to show up and buy tickets at the door for that show for sure.
Well, he's one of those guys. He was in Dumb and Dumber. He was something about Mary. He was in Half Baked. That's where I first heard about him.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's just a master. I mean, the guy does sketches, skits. I mean, any kind of comedic performance. And even now on podcasts, he's bringing this new element where he's playing this character on podcasts. It just brings such a cool element. It makes it so you never know what he's going to say. You know what I mean? You never know how he's going to react to something. And I wish we could be there this weekend. Hopefully, if any of the fans go to the show and watch it, send me a recap. We'll play it here on the Con Calendar. I want to know what it was like.
I'm going to try. I'm going to see if I can pop in. I don't work at the Improv always. So I'm going to see if I can pop in. And actually, Lisa Correo, who's another local legend who started down here. She's actually going to be working with him all weekend as well. And
that's awesome.
She's opening for him?
Yeah.
That's great.
She's amazing.
Super cool.
So happy that she's going to be on there as well.
Guys, if you're opening at the Improv, send me a message. I'll shout you out on the podcast. I'm always trying to find out without being like, too weird about it.
They gotta let you know though.
Yeah, I'd love to shout them out.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to hear that. But also at the Miami Improv, guys, we got a bit of a matinee show happening on Saturday at 4 p.m. And that is going to be for our boy El Caballo. And I believe, Ellie, you were on his last matinee show that he did,
and I'm gonna be on this one too, boo boo.
And she's gonna be on this one. There you go. Because you did crush that show. I think everybody that was on that lineup crushed. I believe Gene Harding was also there.
Chris Renoir.
That's right.
Let me tell you something. These 4 o'clock shows and what Caballo has done, he's had late night shows, he's had like matinee show, like he crushes every single time. And you would think Saturday 4 p.m., but they're super packed and they're so fun. And he's just got his audience, man. Like they just, they show up for a good time. They don't get offended by anything. You know what I mean? It's a comedy show, pussy. He's like, do we have to believe that? It's fine.
No, you're good.
And now that Trump's in office, I think he's probably going to be super chill. He's not going to have anything to
complain about. I want to see. Now I'm interested to see how he opens his show.
This is going to be
the first one that I've seen, at least since Joe Biden hasn't been in office.
I think he's done.
It's still going to be Let's Go Brandon. It's still going to be.
No, he's going to do his shit. But this is his first show after I think Trump got not elected, because I think he already did one since he's been inaugurated. So now we can talk about, the 6,000 executive orders, everything. He can just...
Nice.
Yeah. No, he's going to crush it.
I love it. No, and El Caballo always, like you said, he puts out an amazing product on stage and brings a crowd that is ready to laugh and ready to enjoy comedy, no matter the time. So if you do want tickets to that 4 p.m. show, get them now, because it's probably going to be close to sold out again.
For sure.
By the time the show starts, like that's just how it is. And
VIP is sold out.
Yeah, VIP is already sold out, so there should be an indicator right there for you right away of just how the tickets are moving, guys. But moving on, though, to Sunday over at the Dania Beach Improv, we got a few local legends coming through and doing their thing. That's Neri Signs and Carlos Hernandez are going to be doing the Dania Beach Improv, guys. And I'm super excited for the show because these are both two guys that are some of the funniest comics that we got down here. Sure. They put in the work. I mean, Carlos now is doing a lot of amazing things up in New York, and he's kind of like an East Coast, you're not bi-coastal, bipolar. Yeah. He's bipolar.
He's probably bipolar.
He's bipolar. In the North Pole and the South Pole of the coast,
No, but he's double dipping. He's back and forth between.
Right. Well, that's what I'm trying to say is that he's doing this incredible job of like going into both places. Neri's always out of town. He's doing the cruises. He's doing shows in other cities, and like these guys are legitimately building incredible bases for themselves, and kind of they're not going to be as available in South Florida, I would assume, for very much longer. So if you guys really want to see a really great show at the Dania Beach Improv, you can't make it to Harlan Williams or you can't make it to Brian Callen, that is a perfect consolation prize for yourself to go on a Sunday to Dania Beach Improv and watch those two guys.
And what I'll say is they're calling it like a hybrid comedy show. So I'm not exactly sure what they mean with that, but those two guys together, if they do anything, including bumping mic style things, it's going to be dope. It's going to be
a lot of fun.
I think that's I think they're doing some improv, like crowd work type of situation, which they're both so great at.
Yeah,
so it's going to be a fantastic show.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, no, Neri is one of my favorite crowd work comics on planet Earth. Like every time he goes in and does his thing, it's super impressive. But that is going to be what's happening this week, guys, in South Florida comedy, whether you're at the Dania or the Miami Beach or Miami Improv. Sorry, guys. You can rest assured that you can pretty much throw a dart at a board with a blindfold on and hit one of the days at either of those locations. It's going to be a great show. So I'm really looking forward to this week in South Florida comedy. Moving on, though, to what I like to do more than I think doing this calendar portion. As much as I love going through everything, guys, the interview is really my favorite part of this show, and I couldn't be happier to be interviewing Ellie Rodriguez, somebody who has been helping not only myself out, but a lot of the comics down here in South Florida in terms of giving them time, creating rooms, doing the right thing, and producing shows that people want to go to. Yeah. Since I've been in the scene, you've always been doing that. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, for you as a producer, when you're looking for a venue or you're looking for a space that you're like, okay, this could be a comedy room. I think all of us as comics, we walk into bars and we're like, we could do comedy here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Any space.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. There's people here. We can do comedy.
Sure.
Like, just give me the mic, give me a light right now. Right. But what I've been kind of coming to the conclusion of recently in the last few months, and what I've been preaching, we've said it a lot here on the show as well with a lot of the guests, is kind of like IDing what is a room worth investing time into versus a room where, if you were to start it, it's not going to necessarily be something that is worth not just your own time, but comics coming out and constantly doing a room. So when you're looking at a venue like that, or you're looking for a new space, what are the criteria that you keep in mind?
So that's a great question. Thank you. And thank you for those very sweet comments. I appreciate it. It's exhausting, by the way, producing shows, the bane of my existence. But by the way, one of the reasons I started producing shows, and this is a piece of advice I give to any comic, is if you want more stage time, like stop crying about it and create it. You know what I mean? So a lot of times producing shows is also a great opportunity to get yourself on stage while, of course, creating opportunities for others. But in terms of what I look for in a venue, for me, I think a turnkey place is really important. Like I like places that are ready to rock with the equipment. I don't have my own sound equipment, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. Not impossible, because I have friends that have equipment. I can always invest in it, but it's like, why would I do that when there are places that already have a stage, or they're willing to invest in the equipment because they're going to curate more events in the future, right? But I think in addition, more importantly than it being a turnkey place, is where the venue really does see the value in what we bring to the table as performers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the longer I do this, not only as a producer, but as a comic, and the more I establish myself as a comic, like I have to remember to keep that in mind when I go to a venue, because it's like, you're not just getting all the comics that I'm bringing you, but even myself performing here, right? Like there's got to be I got to see the value in that too, right? But I can't work with a venue that doesn't support comedy in general. Like if they treat it like if they're doing us a favor and, oh, we're going to give you exposure, I'm not looking for exposure. Thank you. I can expose myself.
Yeah.
Right? I'm looking for a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a place and a venue owner that believes in comedy and that is willing to also put in a little bit of time before we deem the event a success or not, right? Like, especially when you know that your first show could be outstanding, and then maybe a few shows after that, it starts to. Are we willing to put in the work for the longevity of the production?
Yeah.
To set up to do 10 shows, or to do some X amount of shows, so that you can get some feel for what you can do.
Exactly.
And I love that you said something that when we interviewed Dom P, he kind of said the same thing, which is like, if you want your own time, create your own time, right?
Totally.
Create your space. And he kind of alluded to that when in the creation of Have Nots, that was one of his big goals, is I want to get more and better time. It doesn't exist, so I guess I have to create it to be able to get that time. So it's really cool that you're both kind of echoing the same sentiment.
Well, and with Dom, one thing that I got to give him his flowers for too is Dom and I started comedy together, right? And then when he created the Have Nots brand, he pivoted from comic to just producing.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, Dom really just focused on producing the shows. And what's great is that once he decided, you know what, it's time for me to get back in as a comic, he has this established brand already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think even if you're still trying to figure out where you are as a comic, if you end up putting a little bit more effort towards producing, that's okay too, because you can always come back.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But absolutely creating our own opportunities is in anything.
Yeah.
So important.
Well, one of the things that I since we started this podcast, by far you are the person that we've mentioned that was praised the most, whether here literally on the show, people talking about you, or like on comments after the fact, or when I've posted things you've done and people just hearts all the way down, fire, goat emojis. It makes me really happy, because that's how I feel about you, right? You were one of those people that always gave me one of my first opportunities, and obviously being so mindful in how you even set up a show and how to be considerate of the comedians that are going, or any guest spots that you might give away. One of the things that I get to closely work with you now is on the New Faces that you're doing. So you're the showrunner at the Miami Improv New Faces show.
Mm-hmm.
That's a once a month show. That's basically an open mic at the Improv where people can come in. They sign up ahead of time via email, and the day of, you bring 10 people.
That's right.
And as long as you bring your 10 people, you get that list of the people, and then you set up the list, let's say, of
the lineup.
The lineup. There you go. And then we have the show, and it's been one, like many of the best shows outside of Have Nots, but many of the best shows I've had in my career so far have been those shows. And it kind of it shows up exactly what you just said about the venues is the same care you have with us as comedians there. So all the new comedians kind of come through that process. They meet you. A lot of the like next level guys are getting guest spots now at those same shows. Now we have Dart there filming, working with you on that as well. So some of the best clips people are getting are from those shows.
Totally.
And it's just, well, first things first, the next one is February 26th,
Yeah.
which we're doing. And
27th?
No, 26th.
26th.
So 26.
Yeah, we double checked right before Wednesday the 26th. And what are your thoughts on those shows? How do you think about those shows? What do you feel like on those shows?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because it's such a full circle moment for me because my first time ever doing stand up was Miami Improv New Faces show back in 2007 I was going to say the 1900s, but no, it was 2007. So back in '07 at the original, I guess it was technically the second improv, right? Because there was the original improv that was upstairs. So this was the downstairs location, the picture that we have in the green room.
Right.
So I did my first show, which actually another fun fact is that Neri, who's doing his show at the Improv on Sunday, Neri Science, and Oni Perez, who is, he's not really doing stand-up actively anymore, but he's an OG comic from South Florida, moved to New York. I think he moved to LA. I think now he's married in Tennessee. I don't know if he's doing comedy, but I think he's still in entertainment. But anyway, him and Neri both helped me write my first joke, helped just set me up for so much success for my first Miami Improv New Faces show. And so now 17, 18 years later to be able to come back and help run the show, you know what I mean? To see all the comics that come through, especially those that show up for their first time. They bring 20, 30 heads with them of their friends to come see them. So it's a really special stage. And one thing I do tell a lot of comics too is, you know what? It doesn't have to be everybody's first time on stage either, right? Like, I'm glad that it was for me, but I can also see the benefit. And you know what? Go do a few of these open mics around town, right? Get your beaks wet, get a feel, and like really, because the experience of doing an open mic at a bar, insert any bar here, whether it's a great bar show or one that's got 5 people, right? Does not compare to the Miami Improv. Right. And when you have 10, 15 comics and it's a regular show. Yeah. Like, I don't see the New Faces show as an open mic. I see it as a regular show because you may have brought 10 or 15 of your friends, but the other 145 people that are there don't know who the heck you are. Yeah. More than likely, right? So treat it like any regular book show. And they're super fun.
It's a great point because a lot of these, I got a lot of followers after those shows because people that like obviously like comedy, their friends are, yeah, my friend was pretty funny. It's his first time. He's not going to do it again, but you were really funny. What's your Instagram? So I get a lot of those after those shows where you get a lot of people's friends start following you and get kind of ingratiated into the community of comedians that we have because they're like, you guys not only are funny, but you guys hang out. You guys seem pretty cool. You seem really to like get along, bust each other's balls a little bit. So it's a great like community building event, you know?
It's so funny though, because you just mentioned how there'll be comics who will do it and never do it again. Or they'll just, I mean, to be in this for the long haul, like this is the, like, you got to play the long game if you really want to succeed at this, right? So it's funny because I've seen so many comics come through those doors for the New Faces show, and a lot of times I don't remember the names. I remember the face, but I may not remember the name. And like, if you're watching this and I don't remember, please don't get offended. I smoke a lot of pot, so I forget. Like, my memory is absolute garbage. So that's number one. But also, some of y'all are like stray cats, bro. Like, like, you know, you gotta come around a lot. I gotta feed you a little bit before I get committed because I have abandonment issues. So if I get attached to one of you and then you leave, then it hurts my heart. So you know what? I'm a rude bitch to protect myself. Also, I really just genuinely do forget. So I remember, and ask the comics who it took a couple times I'm coming around, I'm like, okay, so I see you're serious about this, and then I really start to, there's too many. You know what I mean? And there's comics who literally will sign up just because they want to see what it's like and they wanted to check it off a bucket list. We had one guy that brought like 30 heads because he lost a fucking bet. Are you kidding me? So like, cool, and that's okay too, but
because we'll make those 30 people laugh. Yeah. So the rest of the comics, like if you're just doing it because you lost a bet and you're not like, that's fine. But hey, thank you.
And also, like, not everybody's trying to do comedy to make a lifelong career out of this. Some comics really some people just want to do this for fun. They want to do it for other reasons as a hobby, and that's totally okay. But whatever the reason is, just respect the craft, respect the stage.
And as far as like because I kind of have an opinion on this, but I'm not going to lead the witness. But as far as like comedians who have been doing this 5+ years and maybe they did a New Faces a couple of years ago, but they've never done it again. Like, do you recommend that those comedians come back and do New Faces? I mean, the job is to bring people to a comedy club. So if you can't bring 10 people to a comedy club, then you're kind of not doing the job. But do you recommend, or you think just the younger comedians should be doing it, people that are just starting, or do you think some of these older guys should still?
So listen, I don't think New Faces is just reserved for literal new faces. Number one, if you have not yet been booked by the Improv and you want them to see you, I hear a lot of comics too who cry about not getting, but when is the Improv going to recognize me? It's like, but if they don't know you think they're going to know who you are because you're doing thank you because you're doing 14 North, because you're doing insert whatever other bar show. No, you got to come to the Improv. And if they don't know who you are, they don't know who you are. And you guys that work there can attest to this. There's not that many of us that are on the rotation.
No.
For lack of a better, there's not even an official term, right?
Yeah.
But there's not that many of us who are doing this already professionally, right? As it is, it's slim pickings because a lot of headliners bring their features with them. So then that only leaves the host gig available.
Yeah.
And sometimes these comics maybe don't even want to host. Maybe they just want a 2-person show, right? So, and there's a lot of us down here. There's a lot of us down here. And so there's a lot of comics who feel like, man, I've been doing this for 5-6 years. I feel like what's up? They should, but if they don't know who you are, a great way for them to know who you are is come to the Improv. And then guess what? If you've been doing this for 5 or 6 years, and it would stand to reason, and if you've been working on building your brand, then bringing 10 people should not be an issue.
Right.
You know, and I'm going to give flowers to someone who I love and adore who is doing exactly that. Pam Bruno. Pam freaking Bruno. She's a 74-year-old woman comic, one of my great friends, okay? Pam has been doing comedy as long as I have. She may have actually started I started in 2007. And either Pam started that year or maybe right before.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about someone who is willing, like there's no ego. Like we got to check our egos at the door, right? So that's another thing is there's a lot of comics who feel like, oh, but I've been doing this for so long. I'm not a new face and I'm not a bringer. Okay, then cool. Then don't do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But then also don't complain when you don't get the opportunities that you think you deserve.
Exactly.
If you haven't done the work directly related to doing, like, you can't look at other people or other comics that have come through and done the thing in the venues and in the spaces that you want to enter. And if you can't humble yourself enough to be like, oh, that's the path, or maybe I have to take some notes from that person or do it like that, for you to just be like, no, I'm just going to do it my way. And then they're going to come to me it's not a conducive strategy to actually getting what you want. Like,
and it's not the only path, right?
Course,
it's not the only path because let's even talk about, because some people will look at these content creators who have 100K followers and then they hate on them. And it's like, well, but you have 345 followers,
right,
and you still think you're too good to come.
Yeah.
So it's
but
like,
with 345 followers, if every single person that you follow came to the Improv,
that's a sold out show.
Yeah.
No, you still don't have a sold out show.
Oh, that's
400
That's
is
fair.
a sold out show.
You're like, actually.
So
yeah,
you didn't sell it out, even if you brought every single person with 350 followers.
yeah.
But the other thing too is that a lot of as comedians we don't think about, but there's a risk to the Improv, right? Like they're sending someone up there as a host to represent the Improv to these comedians. These comedians are going to go back to their agents, to their managers, to the other Improvs. So there's a risk of you just putting a random person who doesn't match the vibe or who goes off the cliff and disrespects the comedian, or like by going over time or not following some of the protocols that we have in
The
place.
basics.
So you show that you have those basics by coming to these shows ahead of time.
It's not just about being funny. Like being funny is clearly a huge criterion,
It's a
but
prerequisite. You have to be funny.
But in order to work the improv clubs, and I'm only speaking to the Improv because it's the only comedy club.
It's also the club that you've probably
my
done
home
the
club.
most. You know
Absolutely,
what I
the
mean?
club I've done the most.
Of any club.
100%. But it's like both Dania, Miami, West Palm when it was open, right?
Mhm.
Even now the Kravis Center every now and then. It's like, it's not just what you do on stage. It's all those little nuances.
Amen.
It's how you behave in the green room. Because to your point, you can be hilarious, but if you're a complete douchebag in that green room, it just takes that comic going back to management and being like, this person did X, Y, Z. And guess what? There is no rule book. There's nobody out there teaching you how to behave. So you learn these things by watching how those who are doing it, what are they doing? And not that you need to be a copycat version of them either, but just take notes.
It's prison rules. You know what I mean? There's no rule book, but the cost of breaking those rules is pretty heavy.
Commissary is expensive in this bitch too. Like, for sure.
No, 100%. And so going back to kind of what you were saying about producing shows and the proper venues, I think, we've recently started working, Cafecito started working with Barry's. We've done one show there now. And like, we kind of had that feeling where when we got there, they were excited about it.
Right.
They had set stuff up. They had a sound guy. They had a sound system, they had a spotlight, lights, like everything that we would have needed, they set up for us, and they made us feel like we were welcome to do comedy there.
Beautiful.
Not like it was an imposition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel like that was really the vibe from the beginning, because I've been there from the jump at 14 North. So I remember when we first started doing 14 North that we were like set up in the back, and we were on the little stage in the corner, and but even then they still had a sound system ready for us.
Totally.
We still had the spotlight. We had a stage, like all of those things were in place, and because they were so willing to work with you, it's now become what it is. So I just kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about 14 North, what it is, and the relationship that you've had with them, knowing, obviously, prefacing that it is the bar that is connected to the Dania Beach Improv that is right next to it. Yes. So it's one of the only things other than the Dania Beach Improv that'll get me to drive to Dania. Is 14 North.
Thank you. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because, I have been spoiled rotten with 14 North because it is the same owners as the improv owners, right? So not only do they understand comedy, but they support it. And from day one, they were like, all right, first show's in the books. What do we need? What do we need to keep refining it, right? So the first mic that we had was not, because we moved, like you said, from the back where their stage was set up, we moved to the front because we recognized that visibility-wise, that was a little bit better, right? But the mic that we had in place didn't, the wireless mic wasn't far enough, right? So Robbie immediately, boom, bought a new mic. Right? Same thing with the backdrop. Well, guess what? They needed a step and repeat that said Dania Beach. So we actually did a 2-for-1 deal. And because I asked for that, they put a fire under them and they bought a step and repeat, right? Which we used for the backdrop for the stage. They got me the palette for the stage. So everything that was needed to set the show up for success, they've provided.
Right.
I'm actually a little bit sad because the spotlight. I'm sad though because we've now had to pivot from it being a weekly show every Monday. This March would have been the end of March would have been 2 full years where we went weekly.
Nice.
So in February, we recently transitioned from weekly to monthly, but it's bittersweet, right? Because there's still room for it to come back maybe twice a month. And who knows, they may bring it back. But I just know that 14 North itself is trying to move in a little bit of a different direction. They're doing things a little bit differently there. So they just said, hey, we're not going to cut it out completely, but we're just not going to have it as often, right? I'm like, I'll take whatever I can get.
Sure.
So it was important for me as well, if I'm only going to be able to do one show per week, right? What I was initially doing was the first Monday of every month is the open mic. And then all the other Mondays were booked showcases with no open mic after. And that's just because it just runs too long. The venue doesn't stay open that late. And I just wanted to keep it separate, right? So I'm like, all right, so I'm down to one show a month. And really, they kind of gave me carte blanche to do whatever I wanted with that one show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at first, I was like, okay, so do I do a killer showcase, especially if it's only once a month? And then I was like,
you didn't immediately think donkey show? You didn't.
Thank you. That was the private.
You said anything. I mean,
we weren't gonna say that on camera.
That's the after party.
There was a donkey fucking party that we were gonna do. You can bleep out the donkey fucking part. Can I just keep saying fucking so that we can go bleep bleep bleep? Okay. Anyway, so. After that was out the window, then I thought about how the showcase. Stop laughing because you like fucking donkeys.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
exposed.
Is that weird? I love that our other producers are in the back chiming, and I love. Thank God that Julian moved, by the way, because Julian was just standing behind. You guys can't see this, by the way, but we have other people. So Julian was just standing back there with this creepy ass look, like the guy who lurks in the window. Remember the guy that was just jerking off recently at the Dollar Tree? I thought for sure.
I know that hero. Yeah.
I don't even have $1.
Or the guy from the drive-thru.
Keep it in your pants.
The guy from the drove through. With his pants down.
Bro, went for some chicken tendies. And
that's illegal?
Yeah.
You can't.
He went for chicken tenders. He had chicken strips.
Okay. Back to 14 North, kids. Okay, so like I said, I went from considering doing a showcase, and I was like, you know what? But that means only 3 or 4 comics, 5 will get to perform. Right. So I kept the open mic because it was my way of being able to still keep it where as many comics as possible could perform. And then this way, literally anybody that wants, I mean, the open mic was always open to whomever, but now it's like, since I only have it once a month, I'm hoping that even more of our great local working comics will want to pop in, along with those who are just getting started. So once a month, but I absolutely love it. I think and thanks to you guys, I mean, I'm going based on the feedback that you guys have given me. And you've both been there when it's been a banger of a night and when we've struggled a little bit. You know what I mean? But it holds a very special place in my heart. And any stage, honestly, anytime there's anybody willing to listen to whatever bullshit we have to say behind a microphone, we as comics should welcome that, you know?
I always tell everyone, 14 North is one of those halfway places for West Palm Beach and Homestead, where like a lot of comedians kind of cross-pollinate there.
Totally.
People that wouldn't go all the way down to like Taurus and Coconut Grove, for example, and some comedian like from up north, and some comedians from down south that maybe wouldn't go, all the way up to like
Boca. Or
Boca, exactly, or even like the Tuesday Pedro's room on Tuesdays.
Kelly
like,
Rose.
Oh, right.
Just a little too far from them.
Right.
So like Dania is like right there in the middle. You can really have every time I go there, I see somebody that I haven't seen in forever. It's great.
Yeah.
And I also like how you spun that you did such a good job that they took you down from 4 shows a month to 1 show a month. It's great. I like that.
That's
like
dope.
how I put a positive spin on that. I'm really sad though. Just to be clear, I was demoted.
No, but you know what? In reducing that to a once a month show, you did at least get 2 years of working it out,
Yeah.
kind of experiencing some more comics as well. Because I mean, prior to 14 North, were you running any other open mics or anything like that? I mean, in the past you probably had, but I don't remember you kind of having like a steady, consistent open mic that you were doing before 14 North, was it?
No, so right before 14 North, Brittany and I had done.
The Garrison?
No, well, that was Brittany's room.
Yeah.
But she and I co-produced Brittany Brave, my bestie who I miss is in New York. Thanks for leaving me, Brittany. Anyway, okay, so Brittany and I did, I think it was called Flash Fire Pizza, which was also Robbie, one of the managing partners from.
I was there for that first show.
Yes, exactly.
I still have clips from there.
I want to say that we started that like in November because then 14 North started in March.
Mhm.
So we did for like 6 or 7 months. We did that one room.
Yep.
So that was it. But other than that, like a regular show. And then years ago, Irene Morales, who's my OG comedy boo, and she's in New York as well. She and I used to run a show called The Comedy Grill, which we did at Sports Grill.
Nice.
On 97th and Kendall.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's by Sports Girl.
That's
the one I grew up.
The Sports Grill, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's two. There's the original one, I think, on Sunset, and then this was the second one.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one that I grew up going to.
Yeah.
For sure. That's awesome. Well, what I was saying is that with all that time and running that open mic and seeing all these new comics and getting to experience comics who are coming out and just doing your shows for the first time or booking them, it's kind of led you now to the show that you're going to be having at the Improv, right? Which is Ellie and Friends.
That's
if we could throw up the flyer really quick.
Thank you.
This is going to be amazing. March 15th. I mean, we've seen you do shows at the Miami Improv and the Dania Beach Improv before, but this one's a little different, right? Because this one is like your show that is your lineup, your brand, your face, and everything attached to it. What is the structure of this show, and what are some of your goals and aspirations for it?
Thank you. So this will be. So I had a long running show that I did starting in 2019. I call Ship to Shore, which was a show that I produced every couple months, right? But there was a concept behind it, right? Then Que Vola, Que Vola is still my baby and still one that I want to do stuff with. But even that has a concept, right? The idea of it being a Cuban American showcase. This is
which was great. I did one of those in Dania. It was one of the better shows in Dania I've ever done.
So fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But if you bring it back, you said I could be an honorary Cuban.
You could be an honorary Cuban. Yes. He's like, let me write this down.
No, I'm getting this. I'm getting it on tape.
There you go. Yeah,
I didn't say when, but eventually. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing with Que Vola. It was also like very niche. Like I wanted. Since I wasn't doing it as often, I've been really like strict about having only Cubans or Cuban Americans, right? So
racist.
Melissa, totally racist. So Melissa, the manager from the Improv, and God bless her because no one has given me as many opportunities to get on stage as that human being.
Same.
Who, we're all like indebted to her for like, I just adore her. Not only in the, like just as a human being, she's one of my best friends, like absolutely adore her, right? But Mel actually kind of gave me the confidence to follow through with making this a laugh with Ellie and Friends. Like, no gimmick. It's you. It's your show, right? The fact that I have an opportunity to do it on a Saturday, which what's amazing is that I toyed with the idea, right? Because we don't get to book weekend shows. Like, as local producers, the nights that are reserved for us are nights that the Improv doesn't have something already on the calendar. And 9 out of 10 times, it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, and only the few can get a Thursday night even.
Right.
So it's going to be a Tuesday or Wednesday. And even that has been difficult because there's so many comics that are coming through that the Improv is booking. Right.
Yeah.
That they're
Look at this week. This
week alone.
There's a lot of comics that are coming into the game that are booking one-nighters. So when I had the opportunity to do a Saturday at 4 p.m., thanks to El Caballo, I got to give him... Doing El Caballo shows has given me the confidence to say, fuck it. And there's no excuse. Like, what his shows proved out, just like Brittany. Brittany did the Bad Bitch Brunch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Pinky Patel, who I was on the road with for a while, and I've done some day shows with her. She was the first time I ever did a daytime show was with Pinky. And what I've learned from these experiences is we can, as producers, as comics, we can lie to ourselves all day. If people want to come see you, they will come fucking see you.
Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what day of the week, what time of day. If the people want to see you, they will see you.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely some things might make it easier, but you're absolutely
100%.
right.
But that being said, people have been like, "Oh, when are you gonna do a Saturday? When are you gonna do a..." Well, now or when are you gonna do a weekend? Well, now I got you a freaking weekend,
Yeah.
and I got you a 4:00
Right.
spot
Mhm.
to come hang out with us, right? Where it's early enough that if you want to go and hoe it up after, you got plenty of time. You know, go get that late night dick if you need to. You'll be out early. You know what I'm saying? You want to go home, you want to go to sleep.
You
can
heard
go-
that, Julian?
There you go.
I'm talking to you, giggle pants behind the curtain that we can't see, but we just hear them giggling like schoolgirls back
Yeah.
there. But it's early enough for whether you want to go home early or you want to have plenty of time to keep bachanga after
Right.
the show. But there's no gimmick to this. It's just laugh with Ellie and friends. And maybe they're not all my friends. There could even be some people there that I'd never call a friend, but if they're funny, I still might book them. All right. No, but it really is. What I'm trying to do as far as the lineup too is I'm trying to give at least one comic who maybe has never performed there or, you know, doesn't get the exposure at the improv that I feel like they should, and they're working hard. So I try to reserve a spot for, one or two of those spots. People also that I just see are grinding, working hard. Obviously, being funny is a requirement. You know what I mean? But it's not just like, oh, you got to be the ones that are absolutely killing. No, because everyone, if you don't have the opportunity to perform on that stage and with that type of audience, how will you even know if you can crush it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
This is where you have such a big heart and you work so much more than is needed to help other people. Just because, I mean, it's very nice of you, very kind. It's your own show. You should just pick, make it easy on yourself, but instead you're doing it in a very cool way, getting other people their first opportunities, getting other people who deserve a shot and aren't getting it. It's awesome. I mean, I think that's it kind of goes to where we started this whole conversation, talking about why everybody speaks about you the way they do, why these venues love you, why it works so well in those things. I have one other question, which we kind of alluded a little bit to it. I know you were nominated and you won the award of Fairy Godputa all the way back. Can you give us a little bit of the background on that, and as well as that lovely logo on your shirt? Can you tell us when that started and where that symbol came from?
absolutely. It started with my great-great-great-grandputa. Oh, there's the logo. You want to... Hold on. There we go. Okay, there you go. All right, yeah, get the money shot, baby. It's me. You'll never see me wear a pair of heels like this ever. And I wish I had the cleavage that the muñequita has. By the way, I also have to shout out Carlos Ampudia, who designed this logo, but it was Freaky. It was my girl Freaky. All right, Freaky Kiss Designs, an amazing local artist. She's the one that was like, we gotta get the Fairy Godputa image. Like, we gotta turn her into like a cartoon. She had the vision for what the cartoon should look like, and she reached out to Carlos, who is, in my opinion, the world's best caricaturist. He is absolutely crushing it. I've actually had him at some of my shows, and I may or may not have him at this one too, because he does he did the pre-show for me where he did caricatures of anybody who
I
wanted.
was gonna say he did one when we did the Kewala show. That he did one of the whole cast, or
Yes.
the whole lineup.
Oh, I remember.
Have it on my wall.
Yeah.
That was super cool, super dope.
He's brilliant. So honestly, the idea of Fairy Godputa, I don't even remember the first time I kind of just said that as like a throwaway line to be funny.
Right.
But and then this weekend I told my husband, I'm like, if someone was to ask me like, what's what is the Fairy Godputa? I'm like, she's kind of like Tinkerbell meets Dorothy from the Golden Girls.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like always just angry, but like still, la puta sabe más por vieja. If you're a real one, you know the rest of that. La puta sabe más por vieja que por puta. Okay? So it's just an excuse for me to use the word puta a lot.
I like that.
Well, it's one of those parts, and every time you bring it up and you kind of like do it in your set, you do different things with it. You take it, I love how you play with it, but it's just the audience goes so crazy. It's like from the young girls to the grandmas on, everybody just loses their mind, and it's one of the things that after every show, it like rings true in people's ears. Like they keep talking about it afterwards. I've heard many people that came by like, who's opening tonight? Is it the Fairy God Puta?
I love that.
And it's like it stays with people. You know, it's like it's in the image, the way you talk about it. It all of it is very sticky. You know, it stays with people for.
I like to be sticky. I'm like a booger. So 2 quick things that I will say about Fairy God Puta. I like to keep it nice and sticky. That's disgusting. Okay, so 2 things. One is real talk. The word puta, I try to use it and throw it around the same way that we have sort of taken the power away, or women have reclaimed the power of the word bitch.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, like you guys can't get away with calling us bitches unless it's, you know, in confiance. But like men calling women bitch. But we have reclaimed the power of the word bitch, right? And we use the word bitch like, yes, bitch. Now, granted, how you use it in tone matters.
Right,
Of course, context matters.
Context matters. So I'm trying to do the same thing with the word puta. And not to brag, but it is amazing how many people all of a sudden I hear use the word puta, which I'm thrilled by. But don't forget where you heard it first, bitches. All right? And then the idea of... You're right there, buddy? Okay.
Good.
I don't know if that was one of the proper connotations of the term bitches. I don't know if you used that properly. But that was a good example of it, though. That was
Just her looking on the pipe.
yeah.
So I'm like, fucking, you heard it here first. And then, hold on, because I'm always high, and then I forget. I had something else. It was about the word puta, and then the idea of Fairy God Puta. God, son of a fuck, I forgot. It'll come back to me.
Well, so what I
They
wanted
need
to
guidance. All these putas out here need guidance.
Yeah, but that's not what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Fuck these hoes. That's not...
no. So, but what I was going to say is kind of
I forgot. God damn it.
kind of in conclusion though with everything that we've spoken about. For you, Ellie, what is your goals going into the rest of 2025, 2026? Obviously, you have your shows that you're producing. You have 14 North, but for you as a comic, for you as a producer, what are right now some of your goals and what are you building toward for 2025 and for on?
God, that is a fantastic question.
That's what he's here for.
Oh, did you want the answer?
No, yeah.
No. I'm trying to work on a couple things. Honestly, this is a year that I have set for myself to do a lot more networking, building new relationships, trying to break into the podcast game a little bit more. Now with Laugh with Ellie and Friends, I'm really hoping that this becomes the series that I intend and hope it will be, which is a show that I plan to do a little bit more regularly. Nice. And headline more often. Honestly, like this is a year where I'm really trying to just transition more from hosting and featuring to headlining a lot more. But I'm also not in a rush. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to, you know, speaking of creating opportunities, like if the opportunities aren't there, I'm just, while, you know, I wait for those to come to me, like oftentimes they do, I am also just keeping my wheels turning and trying to figure out what opportunities I can create for myself, which I remembered what I was going to say, going back to the Fairy God Puta concept and all that. I'm very happy to say, and I will document this here for posterity. Number one, I asked my trusty Ellie bot. Some of you know it as ChatGPT. Mine is personalized. So my Ellie bot, I asked it who the Fairy God Puta was. And it came back, and I will share a screenshot. Like, I will post it on my page if you want to see it, with the conversation that I had with my bot. But basically, it recognized at Laugh with Ellie, the comedian, and it gave me a whole little blurb. And then I asked it if I was the first Fairy God Puta. And it's like, I don't know if Laugh with Ellie created it. And then I said, okay, is there any record? Like, do you have any records showing that anybody prior to Laugh with Ellie used the term Fairy God Puta? And the answer was no. So the bot said, no, it looks like Laugh with Ellie is the originator. So if you hear anybody else try to use the Fairy God Puta name, just know that they might be one of my proteges. But I am the motherfucking OG, baby.
I love that. And, you know, it's actually funny that you bring that up, like ChatGPT and the whole AI thing, because we actually use AI really, really integrally in this show.
Yes.
Like, we use it for almost every single episode, because anytime we actually cut to art, it's not actually Art Roach, the comedian. That is just an AI-generated version of him.
Has to be.
Yeah, that's why it's so, like, non-lifelike and, like, it's kind of uncanny and robot-y.
Yeah.
Is because we use an AI to generate art, because he can't actually be
He's too
here.
busy.
Not even that he's too busy. He's just not good enough to, like, fully be on screen. He's not there yet.
It's all that donkey fucking that he talked about earlier.
Well, those are the glitches we're working out at this time. Like, eventually you're going to be able to be completely, like, you're not even going to know if it's art or the AI, whatever. we're still working out the kinks in this show, but we love AI here at the Comedy Calendar. We use it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about that bot life.
I love that. I love that. Anyway, guys, this has been an amazing week of South Florida comedy, guys. I'm really happy that we were able to not only have Ellie in on the show and be able to talk a little bit about what she's doing, but also get her opinion on what's happening in South Florida comedy. Again, guys, we got Louis C.K., we got Brian Callen, we got Harlan Williams. It's going to be a really, really good week of comedy, guys. So you already know, if you follow us on social media, you'll be able to keep up to date with all those shows as they happen. We're going to be clipping this up, cutting it up for you guys. So as you know, every single week, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Thank you for watching us. And until next week, guys, stay laughing.